What if I told you that around 70,000 years ago, humanity suddenly hit the evolutionary brakes, a moment when nature's sculpting hand seemed to hesitate, and something unseen took control? Why did our species slow down, or perhaps evolve in an entirely new way? Was it chance, catastrophe, or choice? Because the answer may still define who we are and who we might yet become. If you're drawn to the mysteries buried in our deep past, stay with Prehistoric Shadows. This story doesn't just look back, it looks straight into us. Picture a moment so quiet, it almost feels suspended in time, when something subtle but profound shifted within us. Not the rise of tools, not the taming of fire, but the slowing heartbeat of evolution itself. Somewhere between survival and awareness, the human story entered what scientists call evolution in slow motion. Our ancestors, once sculpted by hunger, predators, and chance, began shaping themselves through thought, cooperation, and culture. From roughly 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens had already emerged anatomically modern, yet still raw in mind and spirit. But by 70,000 years ago, something remarkable had happened. Fossil lines blur, mutations quiet, anatomy stabilizes. The forces that once carved us, climate, isolation, adaptation, seemed to pause. Why? Was it a catastrophe that thinned our numbers? A leap of consciousness that rewired selection itself? Or did humanity simply trade biology for imagination, letting culture take the wheel? This is the mystery of the frozen moment, a turning point where nature's chisel hesitated and the human mind began sculpting its own destiny. 74,000 years ago, the world may have come terrifyingly close to losing us. Deep in what is now Indonesia, the Toba volcano erupted with a force thousands of times greater than any in recorded history. Ash blotted out the sun, plunging Earth into years of volcanic winter. Temperatures dropped, plants withered, and food chains collapsed. For humans, it was an apocalypse in slow motion. Genetic studies suggest our population may have fallen to just a few thousand survivors, a narrow bottleneck through which all modern humans passed. With diversity stripped away, evolution itself was cornered. Natural selection could only work with what little variation remained. And yet, somehow, those survivors endured. They carried with them fire, language, cooperation, the earliest sparks of culture. Did this catastrophe silence evolution's rhythm, or simply redirect it into the realm of the mind? Perhaps the Toba eruption didn't end our story, it forged it, forcing intelligence, imagination, and unity to replace raw genetic strength. If the body faltered, maybe culture began to evolve for us. When the fires of nature cooled, another kind of fire began to burn culture. Tools replaced claws. Language replaced instinct. And the human story shifted from survival of the fittest body to survival of the fittest idea. Around this time, our ancestors began weaving something new. Networks of memory, knowledge, and cooperation. Each tool, each story, each shared belief became a genetic mutation of the mind. Biology slowed, culture accelerated, and with every generation, information, not DNA, became the most valuable inheritance. Scholars like Alan R. Templeton argue that human evolution never truly stopped, it simply changed medium. Culture became our new ecosystem, reshaping us faster than genes ever could. Now, intelligence, empathy, and creativity determine who thrives, not muscle or bone. But if natural selection no longer hunts in the open, where did it go? What quiet, invisible pressures still sculpt us today? Are we adapting to our own inventions, or are they evolving us instead? The rules of evolution didn't vanish, they just learned to speak our language. Something extraordinary happened inside the human skull, a silent detonation that changed everything. For hundreds of thousands of years, we had the same body, the same brain size, the same hands that struck stone tools. Then, almost overnight, in evolutionary terms, imagination ignited. We began to dream, to symbolize, to paint on cave walls what once existed only in thought. This was the cognitive revolution, the moment the hunter-gatherer brain awoke inside a Paleolithic body. Yet, the mystery deepens. If anatomically modern humans existed long before this leap, why did it take so long for behavior to catch up? Scientists call it the sapient paradox, the long, strange delay between what we looked like and how we began to think. Did the brain reach its biological peak, forcing further evolution to occur through culture, language, and memory instead of bone and tissue? Perhaps our DNA handed the torch to our ideas, and from that moment on, evolution no longer shaped us from the outside in, but from the inside out. When we picture evolution, we imagine progress, taller, stronger, smarter. But the fossil record tells a subtler, stranger story. Over the past 30,000 years, the human brain has actually shrunk, losing roughly 10% of its mass. Our bodies have grown lighter, our bones thinner, our jaws and teeth smaller. Even the shape of our skulls has softened, less rugged, more refined. Does this mean humanity is devolving? Or have we simply evolved in a new direction, one that prizes efficiency over raw power? Perhaps a smaller brain doesn't mean less intelligence, but greater specialization, a shift toward cooperation, memory, and technology that store knowledge outside the skull. Our ancestors once relied on instinct. Now, we rely on networks, language, and collective memory. The individual brain may have shrunk, but the shared human mind has expanded beyond measure. So if anatomy slowed, where did evolution go? Maybe it no longer lives in bone or blood, but in everything we build, think, and pass on. For most of our history, nature was ruthless. Predators stalked us. Starvation thinned the weak. Climate shifts carved our genes with merciless precision. But then, something remarkable happened. We began to outsmart evolution's harshest tests. Fire, clothing, shelter, agriculture. Each invention was a shield against the wild. Medicine and cooperation turned survival from a gamble into a design. As our cities rose and populations swelled, the brutal edge of natural selection dulled. The engine that once drove evolution slowed, cushioned by technology and compassion. Some scientists argue that human biology became insulated, protected from the cold logic of nature. If fewer people die from hunger or exposure, then the environment no longer chooses who passes on their genes. But if nature isn't driving us anymore, what is? Culture? Technology? Our own choices? Even in this safety net, subtle forms of evolution still stir beneath the surface, quieter, hidden, but no less real. And that raises a haunting question. When survival is guaranteed, what does evolution evolve toward? Around 11,700 years ago, humanity crossed a threshold, the Neolithic Revolution. For the first time, we stopped wandering. We planted seeds, built walls, stored grain, and raised herds. Villages turned into towns, towns into civilizations. And with that, the rules of evolution changed forever. Farming brought abundance, but also crowding and disease. Close contact with animals created new pathogens. Dense populations allowed them to spread. Our genes adapted, some gaining resistance, others paying a price. Larger populations meant more mutations, more gene flow, but also more cultural buffering. We no longer relied solely on biology to survive. Our inventions carried part of the load. Scholars behind the 10,000-year explosion argue that this era actually sped up evolution, not slowed it. Skin color variations, lactose tolerance, immunity, all accelerated under agricultural life. So which is true? Did we evolve faster through biology or slower through culture? Perhaps both, two forces pulling in opposite directions, shaping the modern human in perfect tension. The question remains, How do we reconcile a species that's both accelerating and standing still? It's tempting to believe human evolution has stopped, that modern life has placed us outside nature's grasp. But the evidence tells a different story. In reality, we're still evolving, just in ways subtle and often invisible. Consider the ability to digest milk into adulthood, a genetic adaptation that appeared only in the last 10,000 years, spreading rapidly through farming populations, or the Tibetan and Andean highlanders, whose blood and lungs have evolved to thrive in thin mountain air. Even our immune systems continue to adapt, shaping resistance to malaria, HIV, and countless pathogens born from our crowded world. These are not ancient relics of selection. They are ongoing experiments. As geneticist Alan R. Templeton notes, humanity's evolution has merely changed tempo, not stopped, but redirected. So, if there are exceptions, what is the rule? Maybe stopped is the wrong word entirely. Evolution hasn't ended, it's gone quiet, working behind the scenes, writing new code into the same ancient genome. The story didn't freeze 70,000 years ago. It just became harder to see. The bones never lie, but they don't tell the whole story either. When we look back through the fossil record, we see a vast mosaic of humanity. Neanderthals in Europe, Denisovans in Asia, early Homo sapiens spreading from Africa. They weren't isolated chapters. They overlapped, met, and mingled. DNA evidence reveals that we still carry traces of them, ancient ghosts woven into our modern genome. This interbreeding, this constant gene flow, shattered the idea of neat evolutionary lines. Evolution didn't freeze at any point, it blurred. The old vision of progress from primitive to advanced collapses into something far more fluid, a web of adaptation, migration, and shared survival. Each fossil we uncover is a reminder that human variability was always the rule, never the exception. Our story isn't linear, it's layered, complex, beautifully messy. So if the past was so diverse, what will the future look like? As we mix, move, and modify ourselves in the modern age, will we converge into one global genome, or begin branching again into something entirely new? Now we bring this story into the present, our own century, where evolution wears a digital face. If human biology truly slowed, what does that mean for who we are becoming? Modern medicine shields us from many natural pressures. Infants once lost to disease now survive. Famine has turned into abundance for some, while climate change reshapes survival for others. The old rules of natural selection are being rewritten not by nature, but by us. At the same time, new pressures emerge. Global pandemics, pollution, sedentary lifestyles, and artificial environments. Technology connects billions, altering how we think, breed, and behave. Gene editing tools like CRISPR let us sculpt the genome directly, while AI-mediated culture changes what we value, who we choose, and how we define intelligence. So, are we still evolving, or have we taken evolution into our own hands? Every vaccine, every algorithm, every migration is a selective act. The question is no longer if we evolve, but who will be guiding it. So, what does evolution even mean now, in an age where we design our own destiny? Natural selection once favored those who could run faster, think quicker, endure longer. But today, selection may act on cognition, longevity, and digital adaptation on those who can navigate a hyper-connected, algorithmic world. We are merging with our creations. Devices extend our memory, machines amplify our will, and genetic tools rewrite the very code of life. Culture no longer replaces biology, it rewires it. Perhaps the evolutionary battlefield has moved from the savannah to the server room, from the bloodstream to the data stream. So, have we hit the brakes, or shifted into a new gear entirely? Maybe evolution didn't end, it just changed its driver. And as we stand on the threshold of post-humanity, one question echoes through time. If we can alter what it means to be human, are we still evolving, or are we becoming something else entirely? 70,000 years ago, humanity may have slammed the brakes on evolution, or so it seemed. But now, as we've uncovered, the story was never about stopping. It was about transforming. From volcanic catastrophe to genetic bottleneck, from the rise of culture to the birth of agriculture, from ancient selection pressures to the digital age, every era rewrote what it means to be human. Evolution didn't end. It changed shape. It left the wilderness and entered the mind. It moved from the body to the blueprint, from instinct to innovation. And in that shift lies the greatest revelation of all. The power to shape our own future comes with the burden of understanding it. So before we look forward, we must look back to the fragile moment when nature paused and imagination took over. If this journey through time sparked a question or wonder within you, share your favorite what if in the comments. Like the video if it taught you something new. And subscribe to Prehistoric Shadows for more cinematic explorations into humanity's deep past. Because even now, the shadows of our prehistory are still shaping the light of our future.